know, even as a ministry, you'd want to sort of, build on that momentum, as you rightly put it. Mm-hmm. You remember Kenya, sevens aside team after relegation from the World Sevens, it took the route that the national cricket team also took. And we all remember the national cricket team was once a powerhouse. So, I can relate with how excited you are with this win in Zimbabwe. But it's also important for us to hear from you, concrete steps that you intend to take so that, this sport of rugby goes back to where it was. What framework do you have, to revitalize this sport, and bring it back to its old days when it was a powerhouse?
The magic lies in three simple things, and it is all about going back to the basics. Number one, we have to invest in a very deliberate, intentional, structured manner in talent identification and progression. We stagnated in the game of rugby, just like we did with the game of cricket. We stagnated. We had this pool of very talented players at one time, some kind of golden generation, the Humphrey Kayanges and that generation. And so you sort of got into a moment where you thought this gravity train would roll on forever. And we forgot to keep the pipeline of talents flowing.
Continue.
So target number one, task number one, and that is why for me Talanta Hela here is a silver bullet, is to create a deliberate pipeline, is to create a conveyor belt where you continuously identify and develop talent. Next week, I'll be visiting Koyonzo Boys. Why am I visiting Koyonzo Boys School in Matungu in Western Kenya? Because Koyonzo Boys have just won the East African Sevens Games for schools. There must be something that this group of school boys have done to rise to the top of East African School Sevens Games. And I have told the Sevens technical bench, I have told Sasha Mutai at the Kenya Rugby Union that you must be able to look at this kind of players. In last month in August, under the Talanta Hela initiative, we hosted Kenya's first ever national talent camp, where we brought about 2,000 school children to Nairobi for talent camp. And during that talent camp, I invited all federations. Among the federations that were part of that camp were the Kenya Rugby Union. And our message was clear. Tap into the talent pool in schools, in colleges, in community teams. Then you have a continuous flow of talents to feed these teams. And when you do that, you are guaranteed. That is what South Africa does. That's what Samoa does. That's what New Zealand does. That is what the best rugby playing teams do, or the rugby playing nations do. Number two, we have to manage sports better. The federation, those who have the responsibility of running sports, they have to be serious. They have to know that in sports, the sportsman, the sportswoman is the king, is the queen, is the goose that lays the golden egg.
Absolutely.
We cannot run federations where we give more prominence to officials and we forget that the most important person here, who even makes the federation relevant, is the sportsman and woman.
Absolutely.
So we have to run sports in a manner that is sportsman, sportswoman centric or athlete centric. Number two, we have to be accountable. We have to be transparent in the way we manage sports. And finally, we must mobilize partnerships that are beneficial to attracting resources into sports. You may want to know that at one time, all the corporate sponsors that previously invested in rugby had taken flight. They had taken off.
Why?
Because of mismanagement. If you mismanage resources given to you, you see, corporates work hard to make their profits. And if they're working hard to make profits and sharing their profits with you in terms of sponsorship, and you waste those resources, they're not going to sit there and watch you waste their resources. They will take off.
Absolutely.
And that is why, by the time we were taking office about a year ago, there was barely any corporate sponsorship in sports because of mismanagement. And so, for us to ensure that we have resources, because to develop talents, you need resources. To train players, you need resources. If you see the kind of training teams that we battle with go through, they do really, really elite training. That takes resources. Government cannot do it alone. Government is making an incredible effort. Like all these teams we are talking about, you talked about the rugby sevens, the Shujaa. The other day, Malkia Strikers qualified for the Olympics, also winning the African title. We have just had our Boxers, the hit squad in Dakar, Senegal, also participating in the African qualifiers for the Olympics. And before they went to Dakar, I had sent them to Havana, Cuba for elite training ahead of the qualifiers. All that kind of preparation is critical in making Team Kenya competitive. And that takes investment.
It takes a lot of investment.
And government is saying, federations, manage your space well, so that as government invests, corporate sponsors will also have the confidence to join government in putting resources in this.
And put their money in there.
So, mambo mangapi?
Matatu.
Mambo matatu. Invest in the athlete, run the federation effectively and properly, and then attract corporate sponsorship.